Since the New Testament does not explicitly forbid instruments and special music, are they acceptable to God? Let's sit down and think about something important together. Have you ever wondered, if the Bible doesn't come right out and say something is wrong, does that mean it's okay? That's a pretty big question. And it pops up a lot when people start talking about worship, especially when the conversation turns to things like instruments and special performances in the church. Is it enough that God didn't say don't do it, or is there more to it? Let's start where we need to. God expects us to worship Him exactly how He commands us. Paul put it plainly in Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. Whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus. That means everything we say, everything we do, especially when we worship, must have God's approval. It's not about what makes us happy or what seems fun or creative. It's about doing what God asked for because we love Him and trust His wisdom more than our own. Now, what about musical instruments? You might wonder, where do we see Christians using instruments to worship in the New Testament? The answer is straightforward. We don't. The New Testament teaches us to sing, and only to sing, as we see in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 19, and Colossians chapter 3, verse 16. No drums, no harps, no guitars, just singing from the heart. Think of it this way. Imagine your mom sends you to the store and says, "Buy a gallon of milk." She doesn't list everything you're not supposed to buy. She just tells you what she wants. If you come back with candy, chips, and soda, would it make sense to say, "Well, you didn't say I couldn't?" Of course not. She gave you a clear instruction. The same is true with God. When He tells us to sing, He's giving us a complete direction. Now, what is a mechanical instrument of music anyway? Well, it's anything outside the human voice that's made to produce music, like pianos, drums, trumpets, flutes, and even hand claps or foot stomps if they're used as musical accompaniment. Worship, as described in the New Testament, focuses on the heart singing directly to God, not external devices creating entertainment. You might ask, does the Bible allow solos or choirs? That's a great question. Let's dig a little deeper. James chapter 5, verse 13 says, "Is anyone cheerful? Let him sing psalms." Singing is the command, whether alone or with others. When a special group, like a choir or soloist, performs while the rest sit silently, that changes the heart of worship. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 19 commands everyone to speak to one another with psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. Worship is meant to be participation, not observation. When we turn worship into a show, it's not the kind of worship God asked for. Let's take a trip back to the Old Testament for a lesson. Under the law of Moses, God said only men from the tribe of Levi could serve as priests, as mentioned in Numbers chapter 18. He didn't leave the door open for men from Judah or Benjamin. He was specific. Hebrews chapter 7, verse 14 reminds us that Jesus himself came from Judah, of which tribe Moses spoke nothing concerning priesthood. Silence meant no. God's silence about instruments today means no too. What about humming, whistling, or beatboxing during worship? Sounds harmless, right? But again, it's not what God asked for. God said sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, not imitate instruments. Adding sounds He didn't authorize means we're going beyond His command. If we start thinking, well, if God didn't forbid it, it must be fine, where would it end? Could we replace the Lord's Supper with hamburgers and root beer because bread and grape juice seem too plain? Of course not. God has given us clear patterns to follow, and those patterns matter because they reflect His will, not ours. Here's the heart of the matter. God told us how to worship Him with music, and that's by singing. We have no example, command, or even a hint in the New Testament about using instruments. Worship is meant to be active, not passive. Everyone participates. No one performs for others. Love for God really shows up when we respect His instructions, even if we might have other ideas. So why should we care about this? Well, because Jesus said, "If you love me, keep my commandments," as you can read in John chapter 14, verse 15. Obeying God's way shows our love and trust in Him. It's not about arguing over what sounds best. It's about honoring His word. We all need to ask ourselves, am I worshiping God the way He wants or the way I want? God isn't impressed with flashy performances. He is looking for hearts that love Him enough to listen carefully and obey sincerely. Imagine a church full of people, all lifting their voices together. No distractions, no shows, just hearts pouring out to God. That's the beauty and simplicity God designed. Let's not complicate it. Let's not try to outsmart God. Let's stick to the pure and powerful way He has shown us. Will you join me in singing from the heart just the way our Father in heaven asked us to?